The house goes quiet. For a moment, everything stops. You hear the refrigerator's compressor sigh as it shuts down. The furnace fan, which was keeping winter at bay, spins down to a halt. The internet goes offline, so does your TV and computer, severing your connection to the outside world. Outside, the wind is still blowing, but inside, the silence feels heavy and strange. Then you remember the investment you made. You installed a standby generator. It's designed for this exact moment. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Visual. A low rumble outside, bright transition. The house lights snap on. But here's the question almost no one asks. What happens when the generator runs, but the fuel doesn't? And just like that, the house feels normal again. The refrigerator begins humming again, protecting hundreds of dollars in groceries. The furnace kicks back on, pushing warm air through the vents. Within seconds, the lights come back on, and so does your TV and internet. This is the primary reason homeowners invest in standby generators: peace of mind. When the system is designed correctly, the transition from utility power to generator power feels almost seamless. But behind that smooth transition is a complex series of systems that most people never see. A whole home generator isn't just a box in the yard. It's an ecosystem of engineering decisions: the engine, the fuel, the electrical integration, and the legal permits. Here on True Preparedness, we don't focus on fear, we focus on systems. Preparedness isn't about panic, it's about understanding how the world works and making thoughtful decisions before the lights go out. We're going to break this down simply: how these systems actually work, which fuel fails first, like what happens after 3, 4, even 7 days without power, because that's when the real differences show up.
Section 1. The mechanics of a standby system.
Before we talk about fuel, we have to talk about the bridge. How does power get from a machine in your backyard into the outlets in your kitchen? There are 3 major components in every standby setup: the generator, the transfer switch, and the fuel supply. The generator itself is essentially a large engine, much like the one in your truck, connected to an alternator. When that engine spins, it creates electricity, but you can't just plug a generator into a wall outlet. That's called backfeeding, and it's one of the most dangerous things a homeowner can do. If you backfeed power into your house without disconnecting from the grid, that electricity travels back up the lines to the transformer on the street. It steps up to thousands of volts and can easily kill a utility worker trying to fix the lines. This is where the transfer switch comes in. Think of it as a massive Y in the road. It ensures that your house can be connected to the grid OR, the generator, but never both at the same time. There are 2 ways to handle this: manual and automatic. A manual transfer switch requires you to go outside, start the generator, let it warm up, and then physically throw a heavy-duty lever. It's simple, it's reliable, and it's significantly cheaper. An automatic transfer switch, ATS, is a computer-controlled brain. It listens to the utility line. The moment it detects a drop in voltage, it commands the generator to start. Once the generator is clean and stable, the ATS flips the house over automatically. This is the gold standard for those who travel or manage busy clinics and can't be home to flip the switch in the middle of the night. If you remember nothing else from this section, remember this: a generator without a transfer switch isn't just useless, it's dangerous.
Section 2. Sizing, watts, amps, and essential loads.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is buying too much generator, or not enough. Generators are rated in kilowatts. A small system, 5 kilowatts to 10 kilowatts, is what we call a life safety setup. It's designed to keep you from freezing and your food from spoiling. It handles your furnace, your fridge, and maybe your internet router. A mid-sized system, 12 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts, is the sweet spot for many. This can handle a well pump, crucial for those of us in more rural areas, and perhaps a single air conditioning unit. A large system, 22 kilowatts to 30 kilowatts plus is a whole home setup. This is for the homeowner who doesn't want to change their lifestyle during an outage. You can run the dryer, the oven, and the AC all at once. The mistake most people make is trying to power their lifestyle instead of powering survival. But here's the true preparedness secret. The essential loads panel, instead of trying to power your whole 400 amp service, an electrician can install a secondary panel. We move only the critical breakers, the fridge, the heater, the master bedroom lights into this panel. By doing this, you can use a smaller, more efficient generator. This saves you money on the unit, the installation, and most importantly, the fuel consumption.
Section 3, Deep Dive 1, the natural gas system.
The anatomy of convenience. Natural gas, NG. Generators are the most common residential choice for a reason. The fuel is already there. These units use a spark ignition internal combustion engine, very similar to a car engine, but modified to run on vaporous fuel. Natural gas feels like the safest option, right up until the moment it isn't. Because the moment something goes wrong, an earthquake, a damaged line, or a utility shutdown, your unlimited fuel supply disappears instantly. And when that happens, your generator is just another machine sitting in the yard. The mechanical reality. Because natural gas is a dry fuel, it doesn't provide the same lubrication to the upper cylinder walls that gasoline or diesel might. Therefore, these engines are engineered with hardened valves and seats to handle the heat. In a 2026 setup, these units are often liquid-cooled. If they are over 22 kilowatts, meaning they have a radiator and water pump just like your vehicle. Maintenance and upkeep. The maintenance on an NG unit is centered on the spark system. Because the fuel relies on a perfect spark to ignite, you must change the spark plugs every 200 hours of runtime. You also have to deal with the utility risk. While the fuel is convenient, it is outside your control. If a backhoe down the street hits a gas main, your unlimited fuel supply vanishes instantly. For 2026, many insurance companies are actually asking homeowners if they have a secondary fuel source because utility-dependent systems are no longer considered 100% redundant. The logistics of installation. Installing an NG unit requires a high-volume gas meter. Your standard house meter might not be large enough to provide the BTUs needed to run your furnace, your water heater, and a 22 kilowatt generator at the same time. Upgrading that meter and running 1-inch or 1.25-inch black iron pipe to the unit adds significantly to the complexity of the job. A whole home natural gas generator from Generac is designed to handle the entire electrical load of a residence by connecting directly to your home's existing natural gas line. The most common and popular residential model is the Generac Guardian 22 kilowatt home backup generator 7042.
Physical size and installation.
In terms of footprint, a standard Generac 22 kilowatt unit is roughly 48 inches long, 25 inches wide, and 29 inches high. It is about the size of a large outdoor central air conditioning compressor. Because it is a permanent fixture, it requires a concrete or level gravel pad and specific setbacks from windows and doors to comply with local fire codes. Can it run a whole home? Yes, but it depends on your specific electrical needs. A 22 kilowatt generator provides enough power for most modern homes, up to about 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, to run normal life during an outage. This typically includes 2 5-ton central air conditioners using load shedding technology, refrigeration and freezer units, electric ovens or dryers, well pumps and lighting. If you have a very large luxury estate with multiple guest wings or high amperage specialty equipment, you might need a larger liquid-cooled unit, 27 kilowatts to 80 kilowatts.
Pros and cons of natural gas generators.
The pros: infinite fuel supply. Since it hooks into the utility line, you don't have to worry about refueling or scheduling truck deliveries during a storm. Automatic operation, the Generac Guardian. 22 kilowatts includes an automatic transfer switch, ATS, that restores power within seconds of a blackout, even if you aren't home. Quieter performance modern enclosures are designed to reduce noise, making them significantly quieter than portable gasoline generators. Self-testing. These units are programmed to exercise themselves weekly for a few minutes to ensure the battery is charged and the engine is lubricated. The cons of grid dependency. In the event of a major earthquake or regional disaster, natural gas lines are often shut off by the utility to prevent fires. If the gas line goes dead, your generator goes dead. Air-cooled limits. The 22 kilowatt models are air-cooled, meaning they need to be shut down every 24 hours of continuous use to check the oil. They aren't intended to run for weeks on end without maintenance. Utility costs. High-volume gas meters may need an upgrade from your local utility provider to handle the BTU demand of the generator, plus your furnace and water heater simultaneously.
Section 4. Deep Dive 2. The Propane LPG System.
The anatomy of independence. Propane generators are almost identical to natural gas units mechanically, but they use a different jetting in the carburetor or fuel mixer, because propane is much more energy dense than natural gas. The mechanical reality. The biggest advantage of propane is fuel stability. Unlike gasoline, which varnishes, or diesel, which can grow algae, propane is a sealed system. It never goes bad. You can leave a 500-gallon tank of propane in your yard for 15 years, and it will be as potent on day 1 as day 5,000. This makes it the champion of long-term standby. Maintenance and upkeep. Maintenance for propane is slightly lower than natural gas because the fuel burns even cleaner, leading to less carbon buildup on the valves. However, you must maintain the regulators. In cold climates, moisture in the propane can freeze inside the regulator, slugging the fuel flow and causing the generator to stall. A 2026 pro tip is to install a regulator heater or a dedicated second stage regulator right at the unit to ensure constant pressure. And this is where propane really starts to make sense depending on how you live. Out in the country, a 1,000-gallon propane tank is an overkill. It's baseline, because that fuel isn't just backup, it's daily life, heat, cooking, hot water. But in the city, most people aren't living that way. A 100 to 200-gallon tank might be enough because they're only preparing for outages, not replacing the grid. Your fuel system should match your lifestyle, not someone else's setup. The logistics of storage. This is the hidden cost of propane. To run a whole house 22 kilowatt generator for a week, you need a 1,000-gallon tank. Why? Because you can only fill a propane tank to 80% for expansion, and you shouldn't let it drop below 20% to maintain pressure. In reality, a 1,000-gallon tank gives you 600 gallons of usable fuel. In 2026, bearing these tanks is the preferred method to meet HOA and fire code requirements, but that adds $3,000 to $5,000 in excavation and anode protection costs to keep the tank from rusting underground. For a whole home setup using propane, LPG, the mechanics are nearly identical to the natural gas version, but with a major focus on fuel density and independence. The Generac Guardian 22 kilowatt home backup generator 7042. Propane is the industry standard for this application, unit capacity and performance. A 22 kilowatt generator is often more powerful when running on propane than on natural gas. Propane has a higher energy content, allowing the engine to reach its full rated capacity easily. It can typically power whole home HVAC, manages 5-ton AC units and furnace blowers. High draw appliances, handles electric water heaters, well pumps, and ranges. Sensitive electronics, provides clean power for home offices and medical equipment.
Pros and cons of propane generators.
The pros: grid independence. Unlike natural gas, you aren't reliant on municipal pipelines. If an earthquake or storm shuts down the city's gas, your fuel is safe in your private tank. Infinite shelf life. Propane does not degrade over time. You can store it for 10 plus years and it will still be as effective as the day it was delivered. Clean burning. It produces very few emissions and leaves no lead or carbon deposits, extending the life of your engine's spark plugs and valves. The cons: logistics and refilling. You must monitor your tank levels. During a massive regional outage, fuel delivery trucks may be unable to reach your property due to road conditions. It helps to have a 1,000 to 2,000 gallon tank for storage supply, the 80% rule. For safety, propane tanks are only filled to 80% capacity. This means in reality, a 1,000 gallon tank gives you roughly 600 to 800 gallons of usable fuel depending on how conservatively you manage it. High burn rate. At full load, a 22 kilowatt unit can consume nearly 4 gallons per hour. Without a large enough tank, your independence may only last a few days, and in a few minutes, I'll show you exactly how these three systems perform during a real 7-day outage, because the results surprise most people.
Section 5, Deep Dive 3, the Diesel Powerhouse.
The anatomy of the outcome. Now we get to the heavy hitter. Diesel isn't about convenience, it's about control. Control over your fuel, control over your runtime, control over your outcome. Diesel generators are fundamentally different. They are compression ignition, there are no spark plugs. The engine squeezes the air so tightly that it generates enough heat to ignite the fuel the moment it's injected. This is why diesel engines are significantly heavier. They have to be built to withstand that immense internal pressure. The mechanical reality. If you look at the backup systems for a hospital, a 911 call center, or a billionaire's estate, you will almost always find a diesel engine. Why? Because diesel is built for the long haul. They operate at lower RPMs, usually 1,800 RPMs versus the 3,600 RPMs of smaller gas units, which means the engine is lazy. It isn't screaming, it's humming. This leads to a lifespan that is 2 to 3 times longer than a spark-ignited engine. Maintenance and upkeep. This is where we separate the amateurs from the pros. Diesel requires a different kind of care. Fuel polishing. Modern ultra-low sulfur diesel, ULSD, can grow microbes if water gets into the tank. In 2026, you should install a polishing system or use high-grade biocide additives. Wet stacking. If you run a diesel generator with no load for too long, it won't get hot enough to burn all the fuel. This creates a black goo in the exhaust. You must run these units at 50% load at least once a quarter to blow out the soot. Gelling. As we discussed, you need a block heater. Diesel fuel turns to wax at 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Without a heater, your $12,000 investment is just a giant paperweight in a Utah winter. The logistics of energy density. A gallon of diesel contains about 138,500 BTUs, while propane only has about 91,500. This means your fuel goes nearly twice as far. A 300-gallon diesel tank is the equivalent of a 500-gallon propane tank in terms of work done. This allows you to store a massive amount of energy in a relatively small footprint. Section 6. The pro tips, site prep, and legalities. Now, let's get into the true preparedness details that separate a professional install from a DIY nightmare.
Site prep and the frost line.
You cannot just set a 1,200-pound diesel generator on the grass and call it a day. We have to deal with significant soil movement. When the ground freezes and thaws, it expands. Why does that matter? It's not just about aesthetics. If the generator sinks or tilts, it puts massive stress on the rigid electrical conduits connecting the machine to your house. For a professional 2026 install, You need a reinforced concrete slab at least 6 inches thick, sitting on 4 inches of compacted structural fill. In Heber, the frost depth can reach 36 inches, so if your conduit isn't buried deeply enough, the frost heave can literally rip your electrical connections apart. The Cummins 20 kilowatt silent diesel generator featuring the 4B 3.9 engine is the bridge between residential convenience and industrial grade survival. While it is more affordable than the flagship liquid-cooled residential lines, it offers a level of mechanical durability rarely seen in a home backup system.
Fuel and runtime dynamics.
Unlike the units that rely on external tanks, this model typically comes with a built-in sub-base fuel tank in the 40 to 50 gallon range. Here's how that translates to real-world runtime. Internal tank capacity, approximately 45 gallons. Runtime, 50% load. It burns roughly 0.9 to 1.1 gallons per hour, giving you 40 to 50 hours of runtime on the internal tank alone. The 1,000 gallon advantage? When plumbed to your 1,000 gallon external storage, this unit can run for nearly 35 days at half load without a refill.
The Cummins 4 B3.9 silent diesel breakdown.
This model is designed for high-stakes environments where engine failure is not an option. It utilizes a water-cooled system and a legendary mechanical engine block. Legendary engine uses the 4B 3.9 four-cylinder engine, known for being almost entirely mechanical and easy to service in the field. Power output, rated at 20 kilowatts/25 kilovolt amperes, which is more than enough to handle a large home with multiple central air units and high-draw shop equipment. Silent canopy. The industrial enclosure is designed to dampen the heavy diesel rattle, keeping noise levels around 68 to 70 decibels. Heavy-duty build, weighs roughly 2,250 pounds, requiring a structural concrete pad for installation. The pros are extreme longevity. This engine is rated for 15,000 to 20,000 hours of life. For a standard homeowner, this is effectively a 30-year machine. Fuel efficiency. Diesel is significantly more energy dense than propane. You get more work out of every gallon stored on your property. Mechanical simplicity. It lacks the complex electronic sensors found in many modern smart generators, making it more resilient to electrical surges or long-term storage. The cons: the weight factor. At over a ton, it requires specialized delivery and a reinforced 6-inch concrete slab to prevent sinking or tilting. Maintenance learning curve. You must manage your fuel. Diesel requires biocides to prevent algae growth and block heaters to ensure it fires up in a Utah winter. Wet stacking. If you only use it to power a few light bulbs, the engine won't get hot enough. You must run it at 50% plus load periodically to keep the exhaust system clean.
The 2026 legal landscape, residential fuel storage.
Under the 2024 International Fire Code, IFC, storing 300 gallons of diesel in your backyard is a high-stakes legal matter. You are regulated on setbacks. Your tank must typically be at least 5 feet from any building opening and 5 feet from property lines. To meet 2026 safety standards, you need a UL 142 double wall tank to prevent environmental liability and soil contamination.
Section 7. The 7-day disaster case study. Who survives?
Let's look at a real-world scenario. A massive ice storm hits the Wasatch back. Power lines are down for 70 miles. The roads are impassable for 3 days. How do our 3 homeowners fare?
Day 1. The initial hit.
Everyone's lights are on, the natural gas neighbor's feeling smug. He didn't have to do anything. Propane and diesel owners heard their engines roar to life. Everything is normal inside the homes.
Day 4. The breaking point.
This is where the cracks show. The natural gas owner wakes up to a cold house. A seismic shift or a local utility failure has forced the gas company to shut down the lines to prevent leaks. He is now as cold as the neighbors without any generator at all. The propane owner is checking his gauge on 200-gallon tank, running his 20 kilowatt unit at half load. He's burning 1.5 to 2 gallons an hour. He has roughly 4 days of fuel. By the evening of day 4, he's out. He calls the fuel company, but the trucks can't get up his icy driveway. He's in the dark.
Day 7. The lone survivor.
The diesel owner is still going because his engine is more efficient, burning only about 0.8 to 1.0 gallons per hour at half load. His 300-gallon tank is still nearly half full. He has enough fuel to last another week if he manages his loads. Even if he runs out, he has a 50-gallon transfer tank in the back of his truck that he can use to sip fuel into the main tank manually. This is the diesel advantage: fuel density and independence.
Section 8. The 2026 cost reality.
Let's get into the numbers. Prices have shifted, and a cheap install is a thing of the past. If you're doing a fully loaded diesel installation, here's what your budget looks like today. Generator unit, 20 kilowatts diesel, $12,000. Electrical infrastructure, 200 amp upgrade, $3,500. Fuel storage, 300-gallon UL 142 tank, $2,500. Site prep, concrete and permits, $1,500. Labor, electrician, and pipe fitter, $4,000. Initial fuel fill and additives, $1,100. Your total project cost for a manual system is $24,600. For a fully automatic experience with a top-tier ATS and a remote monitoring bridge, you're looking at $27,700. Compare this to an NG or propane install, which typically lands between $12,000 and $18,000. You're paying a premium for the diesel, but you're buying a 30-year machine instead of a 10-year machine.
Conclusion: making the choice.
So, which one is right for you? If you live in a city with reliable gas lines and you just want the lights to stay on during a summer thunderstorm, natural gas is your winner. If you live off the grid and want a fuel that stays fresh for a decade, propane is your best friend. But if you are building a legacy system, if you have a shop, a barn, or a family that depends on absolute reliability, regardless of how long the grid stays down, diesel is the undisputed champion. At the end of the day, a generator is more than just a machine. It's an insurance policy. It's the guarantee that your life doesn't have to stop just because the utility grid did. Lights, heat, food, water, those are the pillars of a functional home. When the grid goes down, you don't rise to the occasion, like you fall to the level of your preparation. This is True Preparedness. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the subscribe button. Stay ready, keep preparing, and we'll see you in the next one.